Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, comparing the Mazda CX-5 to the Mazda CX-50 to see what the actual differences are between the cars. Before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Orem Mazda, and you guessed it, Orem, Utah, for giving me some time with both of these cars. Both of these are still available for sale for the time being, so if you're interested, I'll include a link to their website in the description down below so you can check out both these cars and the rest of the inventory that they have. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Powering the CX-50 is a turbocharged 2.5 liter 4-cylinder that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 23 around town and then 29 on the highway, with power outputs being 227 horsepower and then 310 pound-feet of torque. Now, powering the CX-5 is the exact same powertrain. However, with the CX-5, fuel economy is somehow less, 22 around town and then 27 on the highway. Now, before we go to the front ends, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Let's start things off by going over the differences on the front ends of both of the vehicles. So starting with the CX-50, this one is the Meridian edition, so this is like the crazy off-road version. That's why you've got the decal there on the hood. But if we pop down below, you guys will notice the headlight design, and then look at the grille and also this piece that kind of goes into the headlights a little bit. And then you got the venting there on the side and just kind of like the wider overall appearance as well. And when we compare that to the CX-5, obviously the CX-5 has the narrower body, and you can see that this trim piece right here doesn't pop up into the lights nearly as much as what you have on the CX-50. And then look at the grille, it's completely blacked out, it is painted, and then the Mazda logos are also different on the vehicles as well. That one is actually a sensor as well. So kind of interesting. Again, similar looks, but when you look at all the details, quite different. Now, coming on the side here, our tire wheel setup is 225/60/18 in the front and in the rear with this Meridian edition. And the reason why I picked this Meridian edition is because this is a key difference in, I guess, the overall theme of the cars. You can see we've got all-terrain tires because the CX-50 is supposed to be a more rugged off-roader type Mazda. And you can see this when you look at the fender flares here with the wider body, the wider track, and then just look at the design details like the blacked out mirror cap there. And then when you just look at the full side view, again, it has this kind of sportier, more rugged appearance. Now with this CX-5, our tire wheel setup is 225/55/19 in the front and over in the rear. You guys can see the wheels are all blacked out, and we just have regular road tires on this. There are no off-road tires available, although a lot of Mazda dealers will lift CX-5s and put off-road tires on them. And then you guys can see with the fender flare, notice how that's blacked out, so painted instead of unpainted. And then you have the standard body. You don't have a wide body, so this has a sleeker, more like sports SUV appearance. Now here's a quick look at the storage space with the CX-5. You guys can see we've got the cargo cover built in from the factory. We also have some spare tire action here, and then we got these latches to throw down the seats themselves, but definitely spacious. And when you look at the cargo area in the CX-50, minus the fact that there's not a cargo cover, like everything is pretty much the same back here, including spare tire underneath. Now, when you look at the rears of these vehicles, you can tell the design differences. So with the CX-5, you can see it's more upright, it's more narrow with the design, and then look at like the tail lights here, and then you can see the dual exhaust tips there. Whereas with the CX-50, it's got that wider, lower appearance, and then look at the difference with the taillight design. Still the dual exhaust tips though, and then again the venting there on the back to give it a more aggressive, sporty appearance. But let me know which look you like more. Now here's a quick look at legroom in the back of the CX-5. Then you guys can see here with the vents, and then look at the material use here at the top, and then also down below, and then you can see the trim piece that goes across right there. And then also just a quick look at headroom. Now when it comes to legroom, it's actually very similar here in the CX-50, but you notice material use isn't as nice as in the CX-5, and then headroom, it's the same. And at the front of the CX-5 here, you guys can see with the steering wheel, really nice material use. We've got stuff like adaptive cruise control, paddle shifters there on the back for that 6-speed automatic. Again, really nice upscale look, and that continues into the gauge cluster section here. One of my favorite parts of the drive mode select, how it kind of does a little animation right there. But again, pay close attention to the door panel here. Look at the material use here in the CX-5. Just with how nice that looks, again, upscale and everything. And then with the camera system, you guys can see just a backup camera right there. Of course, Mazda's infotainment system, it's not a touchscreen. Everything's controlled via a dial. And then again, you got more soft touch here on the dash with the CX-5. Got the vents here, and then look at the trim that goes across. Heated steering wheel there. Got your dual zone climate, heated and ventilated seats. shifter there for the 6-speed automatic, your drive mode select, and then the control for the infotainment system here with like your parking brake and everything. Some cup holders behind that, and then pretty cool at the center console. Some USB action. Something that's interesting is we just have a regular sunroof here in the CX-5. And now in the CX-50, I will say this right here definitely looks a little bit more premium, a little bit more updated. But the actual like airbag cover, I don't think that looks as nice as what you have in the CX-5, but still really nice steering wheel. And then again, you can see here with the material use in the door panel, I mean, this is pretty cool with the cross stitching. But it just doesn't have the same like upscale tight feel as what you have in the 5. The 5 feels just a little bit nicer, if that makes sense. And then here's a quick look at the gauge cluster. Still get a cool little animation there when you change drive modes. And then you guys can see how the infotainment system is in the dash here. It looks like it's a little bit farther back than we have with the CX-5 in the dash itself, which is interesting. Still not a touchscreen or anything like that. And then we do have soft touch here at the top of the dash. You can see the cross stitching right there, which is really cool. Dual zone climate controls, heated seats, no cooled seats with this particular package here. Got some cup holders, got the shifter. This area right here looks pretty dang similar, although you don't have the nice stitching there on the shifter, which is interesting. I do like this terracotta interior though, I will say that. Nice storage space. But yeah, look at that, terracotta, that's pretty cool. And the seats, I think they do look really cool as well. And then this actually has a full panoramic sunroof, so that's kind of an upgrade. Now when it comes to pricing, this CX-5 Turbo stickers for about $38,000, and then that Meridian edition stickers for about $41,000. Let's set off in the CX-50 first. I guess I'll quickly show you guys visibility. So blind spot running through both the mirrors, over the hood, through those to the rear. It's actually pretty good. I do like the decal on the hood. It actually helps out with glare. That's kind of why Mazda put it there. Now I know that some of you are going to complain about this comparison because you can be like, Ben, you're comparing apples to oranges because you're doing the off-road CX-5 versus the turbo, or sorry, the off-road CX-50 versus the turbo CX-5. You should be doing, you know, the street version of the CX-50. And my answer to you is my channel, my rules. But the reason why I chose these two particular vehicles for this comparison is because with the CX-50, Mazda's whole marketing with this is a rugged off-roader. So I wanted to use the rugged off-road package on this for this comparison. And then with the CX-5, Mazda's marketing is that like you're basically getting a luxury vehicle. So I wanted to do the turbo. Obviously the Signature is technically the top line luxury version, but the turbo is right, nice interior, and you get obviously the more aggressive powertrain, right? You get the bigger power outputs, which is always an exciting thing. Anyways, CX-50. So first off, these all-terrain tires, you can actually perceive them. So I can tell that like the damping on this is actually really good. And that's something that Mazda focused on with the CX-50 was the damping, right? Because this is supposed to be an off-roader, and you know they wanted you to be able to go over bumps and rocks and all that kind of stuff and not have it be an issue. And yeah, it seems like the tires help out quite a bit, but the suspension on this also, I think they've done a good job overall. And I actually have taken a CX-50 off-road, and I can tell you it did surprisingly well. It did a lot better than I expected it to do, being a crossover with unibody construction and independent suspension. But yeah, really good torque out of the turbocharged engine. Sport mode, always fun. I like how responsive everything is. Still, like the steering's responsive. Everything's still responsive in normal Mazda fashion. We'll see if it feels less sharp compared to the CX-5 though. Let's punch it here a little bit. Oh man, it's quick. It's quick, that's for sure. Leave it up to the V-dubs to just pull it in front of you randomly. But yeah, let's quickly sum things up here with the driving of the CX-50. So first off, when it comes to ride quality, it's really good. And you know, the acceleration, I just want to see if it feels slower or faster than the CX-5 back to back, but it's solid. This turbocharged 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, man, it has some punch, and this isn't a very big crossover, and so it's crazy to have this much power in such a small vehicle. But let's hop into the CX-5. And in the CX-5, visibility looks like it's pretty much the same. CX-50 might have been a little bit better in the back, but it's pretty similar. I will say the seats in the CX-5 are like, they feel smaller and tighter compared to the 50. The 50 had like these squishier, more open seats, which makes sense. That's kind of what off-road vehicles typically have. But it's interesting, there's actually a seat difference. So I will say, although I love the look of these seats more than the CX-50 seats, and I like the materials on these more, I still think the CX-50 seats, they're just comfier and they're bigger. Especially like the leg area, that would definitely, it's definitely a big difference with them. Now when it comes to suspension, I can already tell you right off the bat, this feels firmer. It does feel perceivably firmer compared to the 50. So there is definitely a suspension difference between them. And the steering feels tighter on this too. There's actually a difference there too. Now I want to wait until I get acceleration to really talk about the engine response, if there's different. Yeah, it's crazy. The CX-50 was better over the bumps. So this has more of like a emphasis on sport. CX-50 is more on the comfort side of things and damping. Which again, that's kind of what Mazda is. They actually accomplished that, so it's interesting that it's actually showing through. The steering is tighter in the CX-5, that's for sure. It feels like it's a little bit more direct. Got in the sport mode, just like the CX-50. Yeah, the CX-5 does feel, it is narrower, but it does feel like a slightly smaller vehicle too. It's like there's all these little differences that are kind of adding up. So just punch it here quickly. Woo! It feels a little bit faster, honestly. Just a little bit. It's not a huge difference. I mean, same engine, but CX-5 feels like I don't know, it feels more responsive overall. So to sum things up, I came into this comparison thinking that I would basically just tell you guys chunky CX-5. You guys will probably see the short, but chunky CX-5 versus normal CX-5. But I leave this comparison with a couple of thoughts. So first off, exterior styling, right? That's a big difference. I prefer the 50 with that Meridian. I think that looks so cool. But I do like this styling. It's very classy looking. Interior wise, definitely prefer the CX-5. This is a nicer looking and feeling interior. Like the material use and fit and finish, just it feels better. It's weird, same company, but it seems like it's better. Except for the seats. I do like the look of these seats more, but I think the seats in the 50 just fit me more. So there is that part. And when it comes to driving, you've got squishiness in the 50, whereas this is sharper. So it's just going to depend on which driving dynamic style do you like more. Do you like sporty driving more? Or do you like off-road squishy driving more? Now I will say they're both still really sharp cars. So there is that. And apparently I don't know how to park. So let's try this again. Now that I can actually see the lines, there we go. So when it comes to my choice, could we have a CX-50 with the CX-5 interior? That'd be cool. Like this like design setup and everything. Like this with the CX-5 exterior and that Meridian package, that would be super, super sweet. But anyways, let me know which one you'd pick, CX-5 or CX-50.